Let's get to Ben Tribbett. Ben, people calling up the show yesterday and texting me saying, look, I'm on I-66. I'm paying a $39 toll to get to work. What the hell's going on?
The tolls are designed to be higher to discourage people from using the road that will slow down traffic. So the way that the toll system is set up is to, as a system to see what the average speed is on the road. And when there are too many cars on the road that's going to bring down the average speed, the price rises. The idea of a $40 toll is not a $40 toll. It's not to collect $40 from users. A $40 toll is designed to discourage you from using the road so you won't slow down traffic. So the toll now, when it's at $40, it gives you an opportunity to use it. Say you're in an emergency, you really have to use it, it's worth $40 to you. You can. Before you couldn't because it was carpool only. But now you have that option. But the $40 toll is not designed to be your daily toll. It's designed to discourage you from using the road or to encourage you to slug, carpool, find other ways to get to work. And the money raised from this is supposed to go to alternative transportation solutions in that corridor because I-66 has been the only option for a long time. Now, I will say this, and Chap isn't down here to defend himself. He's getting the brunt of this because his district is right on I-66. But one of the things that is the reason the toll is as high as it is as well is because they promised to add a lane on 66. All the permitting's done for it. It's not added yet. When you add that extra capacity, then the average tolls will fall because the average speed will be able to handle more cars on the roadway.
All right, how long will it be before that extra lane's added?
Well, I'm going to kick this over to Senator Marsden, but I have to say I probably would think your answer and Chap's answer and others is probably going to be pleased before 2019.
I just got to say I was a defender and a proponent of the 2013 transportation tax deal, right?
Correct.
And I was telling my audience yesterday, driving up here from Virginia Beach on Tuesday morning. So I leave because I have basketball. It's a long story. I have a basketball practice Monday and Tuesday night, so I have to come a.m. So I'm driving up, and I leave at 2:30 a.m., all right? So I get to the peninsula, and I take advantage of the expanded lane now from Newport News, which is going to Williamsburg, which was a huge bottleneck, all right? 1/3 of that's already been open, all right? So I zip through that. Then I get to Stafford County. I get to Fredericksburg. 1 mile north of Fredericksburg, I get to take advantage of the brand new Easy Pass lane, which is 10 miles extended. So I get on that. I got from Virginia Beach to downtown D.C. by the Capitol in 2 hours and 45 minutes going the speed limit. Now, I've never done that. Okay. So, I mean, these roads are real. I mean, people should be excited about the improvements being made.
Yeah.
Right, Ben? Dave?
Yeah, these are indeed improvements. But let's take the 10,000-foot view here for just a minute. Interstate 66 is, if not the worst road in America, it's pretty daggone close. And what this is the first step in is a huge culture change. Interstate 66 has been the home of the solo driver. They turned rush hour inside the Beltway on 66, which is certainly just part of it. They turned that. They've always had that, or they've had that for a number of years as high occupancy vehicle traffic, and now they've opened it up to solo drivers. The money is going to be used to encourage transit and other forms of transportation. The company who won the contract to do outside the Beltway on Interstate 66 is giving the Commonwealth $500 million up front for improvements in that corridor. So people have to remember, as unpleasant as this $40 toll thing is, it's still a choice that people are making. And I think, as Ben said, it will come down. But the whole goal here is we have to change the culture on 66. We're going to have, people are going to have to get to the point where they're using high-speed buses, because right now outside the Beltway, the HOV lanes don't work very well because they're open. People zip in and out of them who are solo drivers. It just is not a very effective way of doing things. They'll now have dedicated lanes, and people will be able to make a choice as to whether to pay as a solo driver on the express lanes on 66 or use the regular lanes. And we've got to develop a slug culture on 66. In other words, people who voluntarily get together in the morning to get to certain locations along 66. The challenge is going to be on 95. A lot of people are either going to the Federal Triangle or to the Pentagon. Pretty easy to coordinate for rides. 86% of the people who drive 66 get off before they get to D.C. and scatter to Falls Church, Arlington, and all kinds of places. Slugging is going to be a little more difficult to organize, but this is the beginning of a culture change for 66. Ultimately, it will work. It will be a good thing, but there's going to be some growing pains, and it's up to us who are the elected folks to ease those growing pains to the extent that we can. And we're going to have our first discussion today at 11 o'clock with the governor's office on these tolls to find out what's going on, and I'll give you a call and let you know what the inside scoop is.
That'd be great. I'd appreciate that. So Ben,
can I respond to that?
Yes.
Good. That's good policy, right? The what's going on here is a good policy change. I think everyone agrees that knows anything about how transportation works that this is the right thing to do. It's bad politics because nobody likes looking at a toll that says $40, and the public reaction to this has been overwhelming. Probably the biggest transportation reaction we've seen in Nova since abuser fees, I would say, at least the opening couple of days. I mean, there's a lot of traffic about this, and people aren't happy. I saw a couple of legislators did town hall meetings last night on Facebook. It was not going well for them because people were not interested in how this was going to work over the long term. They were interested in what was happening today. And I think growing pains is the right way to describe it, because when you change the culture, you're also changing other patterns. Some people were reporting their commutes had been shortened by this, that were not even on the toll lanes because traffic had been eased. Other people were reporting that their commutes had gotten much worse because of this. So there's going to be some changes in different communities. You look at people in Arlington, for example, they were reporting that their tolls, because they weren't getting on at the entry point, were in some cases $3, and they were speeding up their commute by 30 minutes. They were ecstatic with it. People who live outside the Beltway who were looking at $40 tolls were livid about it. So, I think this is going to play out, but in the short term, the Republicans are really taking advantage of this. You're already seeing them get organized, and I think you're going to see this become their issue of 2019 if it's not resolved by then.
So Amy in Fairfax, who is driving it now, says, so millions of our tax dollars were used to build I-66, which was limited to carpools. Now you have to pay $34 to use it traveling alone. Now more tax dollars will be charged to us to widen I-66 again. She says, how many times do we have to pay for the same road? How do you respond to that, Dave?
Well, what you're paying for is improvements, and I understand people's frustration here. But the same choices exist today as existed before these tolls. Before, you weren't allowed to use inside the Beltway during rush hour or during that 3-hour rush hour period in the morning and the afternoon. Drive on it. You couldn't go on it as a solo driver. So you had to use other choices. You could
or get a $500 fine.
Yeah, well, exactly.
You couldn't go on I-66 as a solo driver.
Right.
Period. Not just the HOV lane.
And now you can. And the fact that it's a $40 toll, nobody's being forced to pay that. They're making the choice to do that. And the idea of high occupancy lanes there'll always be people who are wealthy enough to do it every day regardless. But basically what they're designed for is that you use it when you've got to be at that meeting at your office downtown. You've got to get home for your kid's soccer game. It's 1 or 2 times a month kind of thing. And that's the general pattern with express lanes. They're not designed for people to use every single day. Will there be people who will build it into their expense account as a consultant in a K Street lobbying firm?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. But the idea here is you have this choice when you really need it. And I wouldn't pay a $40 toll. I do not use express lanes. I've used them, I think, 3 times. But every time I've used it is because I got to get somewhere quick, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
So when I drove here from downtown today, right, and I took I-66, I followed the Waze, so I was on I-66. Did I pay a toll?
That you're going the opposite direction.
I was going in the opposite direction.
The tolling's only in the direction,
the high volume direction.
The high volume direction. So in the mornings it's going towards the city, in the afternoons it's going out of the city.
On 66,
coming
out. I don't know how long that, because it used to be the rush hour was all in one direction. It was, everybody heading towards Washington, D.C. Commuting patterns now are changing.
Yeah, but I think Ben's
dramatically.
right. Obviously.
Yeah.
Remember, the original proposal was to do it both directions, and I think that you all worked to get VDOT to change it so that it would only go in the direction of the high volume. But you're right, it is increasing. The volume is increasing, but the volume has increased, but it still moves. And I'll say this, I would happily pay a $40 toll if I was going to the city, because, my commuting pattern is I don't ever commute much at all. I have a very short commute. And maybe once every 3-4 months, I have to go into the city for a morning meeting, and I hate it when I have to do it. And so for me, once every 3 or 4 months, absolutely, because I don't do it daily.
Right.
But I also understand, like, if I commuted to the city daily, that wouldn't be my option.
Yeah, well, that would be $200 a week and $800 a month. Nobody's going to pay that.
One way.
But look, one way. But look, right, it would be $80 a day, $1,600. I agree though with what you're saying. The option is there if you really need it. And when I come up to DC, I take the Easy Pass lanes. I don't care. I think it's $20 or so, but I don't really care because I'll pay that because, it saves me an hour, right? An hour. It saves me.
Your time is worth more than $20 now.
It's worth more than $20 because I save 60 minutes.
And John, you're doing a favor to the people using the regular lanes by getting off out of their lanes and into ones that you're paying for. So the people who are using the regular lanes benefit from your willingness to pay that toll. But the bigger problem, I've never been a big fan of tolls. I think we ought to pay for our roads and allow people to use them. I've always been against the whole notion, but here's the problem. The rest of the Commonwealth of Virginia does not want to pay for Northern Virginia's congestion. They don't want to pay for Hampton Road's congestion.
Well, that's why you have to
so we have to come up with regional solutions, local solutions to pay for this. We've been forced into this position.
Can I get a quick Trump bastion here?
Yes. That's why we're here.
These tolls are right. You can write them off now as like for what you do, John, as a radio show host. You can come up. This is part of your trip to come here, so you can actually write those tolls off your taxes under the new Republican tax plan. If you have a solo LLC, you'll no longer be able to write off those types of expenses. This has been one of the big things in the tax bill debate, and is a great example of if you were a corporation, you'd be able to write it off, but an individual won't be able to, and why the Republican tax bill is
you can't write off your commute to work.
Your transportation expenses.
No,
and it's not your commute to work.
An individual.
It's not when you have to travel, that's your travel. That's not your commute to work.
An individual can never write off. If my job is at the Portsmouth studio and I'm in Virginia Beach, I can't write that 25 miles off because that's where my job is.
But
You've never been able to do that.
But you write off coming to Northern Virginia.
Absolutely.
Well, it's
a good example.
But that's a business write-off. That's not going away.
It is, depending on how your business is structured, and that's part of the problem with the tax bill.
Well, I think they're going to change that for the sub-S, but that is a minor issue that they're going to change. I know you guys are upset over the tax bill. You're upset because it's going to pass. The economy is going to explode. It's going to grow at 4%. Jobs are going to be plentiful.
3.5 now.
It's going to, well, that's because of Trump's deregulatory policies. You put this tax cut in there, it's going to grow at 4%.
We had 78
revenues are going to go up.
Of jobs
are going to go up. Wages are going to go up. And then Trump is going to get reelected. And then what the hell are you guys going to do? You're going to go absolutely jumping out of windows. He's going to win again. Based on this tax plan. That's why I'm so excited about it. This tax plan, man, it's going to knock your socks off. I am fired up.
Okay.
He's going to win again. Right now, people are upset about tweets and this, and they don't like his tone, and they don't like his style.
John, if he finishes his 4-year term, I'll be shocked.
There's no collusion. He's going to finish it, and he's going to run for re-election. The economy is going to be booming at 4%. Wages are going to go up. Jobs are coming back. People are going to get out of their basement. They're going to go to work. Right? They're going to be a bright future.
All you listeners out there in Radio Land, check under your pillow tonight. The Tooth Fairy is alive and well.
Win again. He is going to win again, and I'm telling you, people vote on their pocketbook. He is going to win again. I have no doubt in my mind. Now, if the tax cut goes down, he'll get impeached and not win. But if this thing passes the way it is with some of the changes they're making and the economy takes off, you guys are going to go
This
crazy.
tax cut bill is like the greatest example of legislative incompetence. There are so many things that they could do to grow the economy with a tax bill, and the things that they're choosing to do. Every piece of this tax bill is directed to trickling down, which is an economic theory that Republicans have held for 40 years that has never ever succeeded. And that's why
fake news.
And that's why every time you
Fake
see a Republican president come into office, generally the economy upticks with anticipation of it
Fake
going well.
news, fake news.
And every time a Republican president's leaving office, the economy is going downhill
Fake
because
news.
the trickle down bills don't work well.
Yeah, that's
Give me an
why-
example of a single.
John, businesses
Jack
have already
Kennedy-
told
Jack
Trump
Kennedy's
they're not
text-
going to spend the money
Jack
on the
Kennedy's
economy.
well, I don't
They're
care
going
what
to
they
buy.
say, but
They're going to buy back stock.
they're not going to buy.
bonuses.
You know what? Then other companies are going to compete with them because other companies are going to formulate.
Tell me a time
20%
when
all Wall Street
tell me
money
a
is
time
never
when
gonna
the
get down to
strategy
Main
has
Street.
worked.
61 and 86 both worked. I
Yeah,
got to go.